that we're gathered on Treaty 1 territory and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We honor the histories, cultures, and ongoing presence of Indigenous people on this land and commit to working towards reconciliation. My name is Halina Shtoyko, and I am honored to be leading today's program. On behalf of Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, Manitoba Provincial Council, I would like to thank our honored guests, clergy, the Premier, members of Parliament, and all of you for being here today to continue to stand with Ukraine. Ukraine has actually been fighting for 11 years now, since Putin's invasion of Crimea in 2014. It was unjustly and brutally invaded 3 years ago by Russia. Ukraine was expected to fall within days in February 2022. Instead, for years now, it has been acting as a live shield for its Western neighbors. A country that has withstood in a remarkable demonstration of strength and unity. Despite the bleak prognosis from its Western allies and painfully slow trickle of old, decommissioned armaments and weapons, it is estimated that 20,000 Ukrainian children have been illegally abducted by Russia, where they're undergoing so-called re-education programs. Thousands of captured Ukrainians, both military and civilians, remain in Russian prisons, enduring daily torture. Ukraine did not start this war, but it should be up to Ukraine to decide how this war will end, and to determine the terms and conditions of any peace deal. Ukrainians have suffered incredible losses, and those who have murdered, raped, and tortured should be brought to justice. Чому ми зараз тут? Ніхто краще за українців не розуміє жах, що чатує на народ в окупації. Ніхто так болюче не пам'ятає Бучу, Маріуполь, Ізюм чи 20 тисяч викрадених українських дітей. Наша омита кров'ю історія твориться сьогодні. Сьогодні ми тут разом, бо нашій країні і нашій армії необхідна підтримка кожного українця. Наш обов'язок бути голосом, що спростовує російську пропаганду і закликає країни, в яких ми живемо, надати Україні необхідну зброю і підтримку. We acknowledge the assistance Canada has provided, but Ukraine needs Canada and our allies to do more. To win this fight for our common values of freedom, dignity, and democracy, Ukraine needs all the support its allies can provide. The only way to achieve peace for Ukraine and security for us all is through our united strength. Дякую. Thank you. I would like to invite our Bishop Andriy and all of our clergy for the opening prayer.
Хочу запросити вас до молитви за нашу Україну. I would like to ask you to join me in prayer for Ukraine. And I'm going to do that in Ukrainian first, and then I will conclude in English. Господи Боже сил, Боже спасіння нашого, Ти єдиний твориш чудеса. Поглянь по милості та щедротах на збирання слуг Твоїх, зібраних тут у третю річницю війни. І чоловіколюбно вислухай і помилуй нас. Бо вороги наші зібралися на нас, щоб погубити нас і знищити державу нашу та святині наші. Допоможи нам, Боже, Спасителю наш, і визволи нас заради слави імені Твого. І нехай справдяться на нас слова, сказані Мойсеєм: будьте сміливими, стійте і побачите спасіння від Господа, бо Господь переможе за нас. Так, Господи Боже, Спасителю наш, не поміни беззаконь і неправд людей Твоїх, і не відвертайся від нас в гніві своєму, а у милості і щедротах відвідай смирених слуг Твоїх, що до милості Твоєї припадають. Встань на допомогу нам і дай воїнству нашим людям в Україні з ім'ям Твоїм перемогти. Зруйнуй неправедні наміри тих, хто йде на нас війною. Молимося до Тебе, владико миру і спокою нашого, щоб як щезає дим, так нехай щезнуть вороги наші. І як порох розсипається від подиву вітру, нехай розвіються їхні злі задуми знищити нашу українську державу. Господи, втихомир тих, що противиться заповідям та постановам Твоїм, поверни їм пам'ять Твоєї заповіді. Будь божевні миротворці, бо синами Божими назвуться. А для тих, що противляться цій Твоїй заповіді, пошли ангелів, які вселять у них страх, і пам'ять про те, що й вони є себе християнами називають. Нехай же, Господи, буде воля Твоя над нами. Якщо Твоє провидіння буде таким, щоб покласти воїнам нашим у битві за віру і країну душі свої, то прости їм їхні гріхи, і в день праведного Твого суду подай вінці нетління. Але віримо і молимося Тобі, що щедрий, Господи, що Ти захистиш, утихомириш і напоумниш, і до спокою приведеш усіх. O Lord, as we gather on this sad and moving anniversary, 3 years since the brutal war in Ukraine began, we bow before you in humility and sorrow. We remember the countless lives of Ukrainian defenders lost, the families torn apart, their homes destroyed, and the immeasurable suffering inflicted. And as the psalmist says, O Lord my God, in you do I take refuge. Save me from all my pursuers and deliver me. We cry out today to you, amidst the turmoil, seeking refuge in your unwavering justice and righteous judgment. Lord, we pray for the people of Ukraine, for healing of their physical, spiritual, and psychological wounds. Give them strength, resilience, and unwavering hope in the face of unimaginable hardship. Grant them your peace, a peace that surpasses all understanding, and guide them towards a future free from violence and oppression from adversaries. Arise, O Lord, in your anger. Lift yourself up against the fury of my enemies. Awake for me. You have appointed a judgment. Lord, we lift up all those affected by this war, both within Ukraine and beyond its borders. We pray for victory for Ukraine, an end to the bloodshed, for a just and lasting peace, and for the swift triumph of truth over falsehood. We also pray for peace, harmony, and justice for Canada, the Middle East, and all the nations of the earth. The righteous God who searches minds and hearts, bring to an end the violence of the wicked and make the righteous secure. Grant us wisdom and compassion in our dealings with one another, that we might be instruments of your peace and actively work towards a world free from conflict and injustice. May we strive to live out your love and mercy, building a future where hope flourishes and justice prevails. My shield is with God, who saves the upright in heart. And may your most holy name be glorified, that of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, now and forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Andriy. I would like to invite Yarina Chipiha to lead us in the singing of the national anthems. Yarina, будь ласка.
With glowing hearts, we see thee rise.
one of a number of newcomers that have come to Winnipeg and Manitoba. Our president of Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, Manitoba Provincial Branch, has received a proclamation today. This is an addition to the program, and she will come up here to read it. Joanne Lewandowski, please.
It is my pleasure to share this with you today. It's from the province of Manitoba, a proclamation marking 3 years of Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine. Whereas it has been 3 years since the Russian Federation, under the President Putin, launched its illegal, full-scale military invasion of Ukraine, whereas there is clear and abundant evidence of crimes against humanity, against the people of Ukraine by the Russian Federation's military and Putin, whereas there can be no sustainable peace in Europe without security for Ukraine, and any peaceful end to the conflict must include Ukraine at the negotiating table. Whereas the people of Ukraine are on the front lines of global battle to protect freedom, liberty, and democracy, and whereas the province of Manitoba's support for Ukraine has been unwavering, as we have welcomed over 38,000 newly arrived Ukrainians with open arms as they have fled for their safety. Therefore, be it resolved that the province of Manitoba proclaims February 24th, 2025 as the 3rd anniversary of Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in honor of the memory of the victims of Russia's war against the Ukrainian people. Be it further resolved that the province of Manitoba condemns Putin's aggression, crimes against humanity, including the forced deportation of Ukrainian children to the Russian Federation. Be it further resolved that the province of Manitoba stands with Ukrainians in calling for Russia to completely cease hostilities and to withdraw all its troops and armed forces from Ukraine. Be it further resolved that the province of Manitoba reaffirm our continued solidarity with Ukraine and support the Ukrainian people's right to statehood, independence, and freedom through a comprehensive, just, and lasting peace. Dated in Winnipeg, the 23rd day of February, signed by the Honorable Rob Canoe, Premier of Manitoba. Thank you.
Honored and dear guests today, we have the Honorable Rob Canoe, the Premier of Manitoba. Please welcome to the stage.
Victory for Ukraine. Victory for Ukraine. Victory for Ukraine. Victory for democracy. Victory for freedom. And victory for human rights. On behalf of this great province and all the people who call this place home, Manitoba stands with Ukraine. We will always stand with Ukraine, And specifically, we stand for the fact that Ukraine will always be its own, your own, free, independent, democratic nation. Just like Canada will always be our own free, independent, democratic nation. It is amazing to see people from so many different walks of life here to rally together and to send that message of unity. It has been a long 3 years. But while it has been 3 years longer in the fight for freedom, we are now 3 years stronger in our commitment to one another. And so as the leader of the province of Manitoba, I view it as our team's responsibility to ensure that we are here for the community in Manitoba, and that we also continue to support Ukrainians who are on the front lines of the global fight for freedom and democracy in Ukraine right now. And there are some things that Manitoba does very well. Agriculture, electricity. And so our government is going to be moving ahead with partnerships with Ukraine, with the Kherson region in particular, to share our expertise to help the rebuilding. And not just a rebuilding of a peacetime, but rebuilding right now, to ensure that there are energy and food supplies to support Ukraine in the current moment. On a personal level, I also want to say that our team, myself included, we are proud to say that we have been sanctioned by Putin's Russia. Myself personally, the government house leader, Nahani Fontaine, who I think is here somewhere, we're proud to say that we've been sanctioned by Putin's Russia, because the fact that we are sanctioned means that we are standing on the side of good, we are standing on the side of liberty, and we are standing on the side of Ukraine. We are standing with you. And the people of Manitoba have given in many different ways. This past year, many of you know that there was a young Indigenous man from the Opaskwayak Cree Nation who gave his life on the front lines in the battlefields of Ukraine. This past year, Ukraine's Consul General, Mr. Mikolenko, he brought a flag, a Ukrainian flag, to the legislature here in Winnipeg. And it was signed in Sharpie marker by commandos from the front lines. And he asked us to present that to a very special person. And I wanted to share with you today that that flag, that Ukrainian flag that was brought here from the front lines, was presented to the mother of the late Austin Laughlin Bercier this past year at his memorial service. And there's another person that we know quite well, our team knows very well, that may not be as well known because his story has not been in the media. But there is a person that we go to work with each and every day at the Manitoba Legislature, who works as Manitoba Legislative Building Security. So we walk by him each and every day when we're coming in and when we're leaving. Who spent a year in Ukraine fighting on the front lines against Putin's forces. And the reason why I want to acknowledge his tremendous valor and his courage, he's a retired police officer who decided to go over and he answered the call of duty in the name of freedom. And the reason why I wanted to talk about the late Austin Laughlin Bercier is to make this very, very clear statement. The support, the solidarity, the fraternity and sorority that Manitoba feels for Ukraine, it's not just words. Manitobans, in a very real way, have given our blood, our sweat, and our tears to support Ukraine's war effort. And that is why our support will be unwavering as a province. And that's why our commitment to ensuring that Ukraine will be a part of the peace conversation, and that Ukraine will always maintain its sovereignty and its independence and its freedom, because we are invested in this thing as you are. And this fight for freedom and democracy and human rights is one in which we all must be united together around the world. And so 3 years on, we are here to recommit ourselves to say it again, that we support Ukraine. We are here to say that we are with you in this struggle. And we are here to say that there will be victory in Ukraine for Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
I would like to invite to the stage now the Honorable Terry Duguid, the Federal Minister of Sport. Please.
Dignitaries, special guests, all, Father, thank you for that beautiful prayer and the beautiful anthem. It's wonderful to be here with my colleagues, Ben Carr, the Member of Parliament for Winnipeg South Centre, and James Bazan, the Member of Parliament for Selkirk Eastman. I got it right, James. But folks, today we are gathered to commemorate a very solemn milestone. 3 years since Russia's unjustified, illegal, and immoral war against the people of Ukraine. And let there be no doubt, over the last year, 3 years, our government has stood strong with Ukraine and has said we will be there for Ukraine for as much as it takes and for as long as it takes. Our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, will be in Kyiv tomorrow with 14 other leaders to stand strong with Ukraine, to be there for the people of Ukraine. And despite some leaders wanting to capitulate, we will always stand with Ukraine and Ukrainians to end the war on Ukrainians' terms and to help with the rebuilding of a proud and independent nation. I don't have to tell this amazing crowd today, this room is full to the brim, that Ukraine is not only fighting for Ukraine and Ukrainians, they are fighting for us. They are fighting for our freedom. They are fighting for democracy around the world. Hard-won freedoms that we fought 2 world wars for and conflicts around the world, including Ukraine, where there is much blood in the soil. One day, and I hope this is one day soon, Russia will be held accountable for their heinous war crimes, bombing schools, hospitals, and starving communities, much like they did during the Holodomor. The Premier mentioned Kherson, where I traveled about a decade ago with some of the people in this room. I attended a daycare. Beautiful children running around, their mothers trying to catch up with them. That daycare is now surrounded by Russian tanks. And those people live in daily fear of being bombed. I visited a hospital in Zaporizhia, where mortars now sail over the nuclear plant there, endangering the lives of all of the local residents and beyond. It is absolutely abhorrent and unacceptable what Ukraine has had to endure, and it must stop. Some world leaders want Russia to be welcomed back to the G7. What do you folks think? I couldn't agree with you more. As you know, the G7 is a gathering of the world leaders' democracies, and they will be meeting in Kananaskis, Alberta, Canada, in June, in just a few months. And our government has been absolutely clear. You can't invade a sovereign nation. You can't kill hundreds of thousands of their citizens. You can't destroy its cities and be welcomed back to the table to shape a new world order. That is not on. And folks, let me be clear, and I think you'll agree with me once again, Vladimir Putin will be never welcomed on Canadian soil. Never. Let me end with a thank you to all of you who have opened your homes, opened your hearts to some 25,000 Ukrainians who have come to our beautiful province. A huge thank you to the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress and to all of you, Ukrainian and non-Ukrainian families who have welcomed them with open arms. The province, the federal government, community organizations have all worked together to make you feel welcome. Many of you who have come to our shores are now our friends and neighbors and will stay, and you are most welcome. Some of you will want to go home to your homeland to live in peace. And whatever path you choose, I know that all of us gathered today hope and pray for peace and that it comes soon. God bless you all. Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Glory to Ukraine!
Glory to the heroes!
Thank you, Minister Duguid. We have another honored guest on our list. I would like to invite Deputy Mayor Marcus Chambers to present greetings from the City of Winnipeg. Please.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that land acknowledgement earlier, recognizing that we are gathered here on Treaty 1 territory. I stand with you today in support and on behalf of His Worship, Mayor Scott Gillingham, my council colleagues, and indeed the City of Winnipeg, as we mark the 3rd anniversary of the war in Ukraine by Russia, and to reaffirm our solidarity with the people of Ukraine. 3 years ago, we watched as a world when Russia launched a full-scale invasion, an unprovoked, brutal war that has since claimed tens of thousands of lives and displaced millions and has caused immeasurable suffering on civilians. The forced abduction of 20,000 civilian children, the relentless attacks on our cities, the ongoing atrocities are stark reminders of the stakes of war. A war not just for Russia's survival, but for democracy and human rights and the fundamental values that we all hold dear. Here in Winnipeg, we are a city that has long been home to a strong Ukrainian community. We feel the struggle deeply. And since March 2022, thousands of displaced Ukrainians have arrived here in our city and our province, seeking refuge, rebuilding their lives, and finding strength in the embrace of our community. The City of Winnipeg has been proud to support these efforts. We've done so through programs like Winnipeg Transit's WinPass, recreation discounts, and the many services that have helped families settle and feel safe here in the City of Winnipeg. This also marks the 51st anniversary of the sister city's relationship with Lviv, a bond that has only deepened in these difficult times. Our ties with Ukraine are not just historical. They are living and growing and built on a foundation of shared resilience and hope. So today, as we gathered right here at the Canadian Museum of Human Rights, we are sending a clear, unwavering message that Winnipeg stands with Ukraine. Canada stands with Ukraine, and we will continue to stand with Ukraine until justice prevails and until victory is achieved. For the lasting and sustainable peace that needs to happen and end the senseless aggression, any negotiation for peace must include President Zelensky. He has remained steadfast in trying to secure peace for Ukraine. On behalf of the City of Winnipeg, I want to thank the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, the Manitoba Provincial Council, for organizing this critically important rally. Your advocacy, your resilience, and your unbreakable spirit reminds us all that we're not just fighting for freedom, and it's not just Ukraine's fight, it's all of our fight. God bless you. God bless Canada. God bless Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. Slava Ukraini. And we will get victory.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Marcus Chambers. We have one final greeting. This is from James Bazan, the Member of Parliament for Selkirk Interlake. Please welcome to the stage.
Slava Ukraini! Victory to Ukraine! Glory to the heroes! Let me first start off on behalf of His Majesty's loyal opposition in Parliament and on behalf of the Conservative caucus that we want to honor all those who have fought and who have died in this horrific battle, this illegal war, this barbaric attack by Vladimir Putin and his war machine. This started over 11 years ago with the Heavenly 100. I was on the Maidan for the Revolution of Dignity, and I was in Ukraine just days after the Heavenly 100 were mowed down by Russian Special Operation Forces. There was still blood on the streets. And who would have thought that this full-scale invasion would accumulate with so many lives lost? So let's remember those heroes who have fought for freedom, democracy, the rule of law, and individual liberty for Ukraine on the front line and on the streets. Let's remember those civilians who have been brutalized by the barbarians from Russia that have invaded our homeland. Vichnaya Pamyat, may their memories be eternal. I'd like to read a statement from our leader, Pierre Poilievre, on this anniversary. And I'll start with this quote. 3 years ago, our world changed forever in the early hours of the morning as Ukrainian families slept peacefully in their homes. Kremlin forces began a horrific full-scale attack on Ukraine. The months and years that followed have seen countless thousands of Ukrainians killed and injured, not only on the front lines, but in safe cities like Kiev, Zaporizhzhia, Odessa, Kharkiv, Mariupol, and others. Yet more innocent civilians have been forced to leave their homes or have found themselves under a brutal occupation. It is often noted that Moscow's war against Ukraine began not in 2022, but nearly 8 years prior. At that time, the Conservative government of Prime Minister Stephen Harper took a clear and principled stand. While many other countries dithered, Canada sent troops to Ukraine under Operation Unifier and played a leading role in removing the Russian Federation from the G8. What was right in 2014 remains right today. Vladimir Putin should not be allowed back into this forum. Pierre goes on, just hours after the full-scale war began, I, named Pierre, told a rally of Ottawa's Ukrainian community that Canadians stand in total solidarity with you and will be by your side throughout. 3 years later, our dedication has not wavered. Canada's Conservatives remain committed to getting Ukraine the weapons they need and to promoting Canadian oil and gas as an alternative to Putin's energy blackmail. And I want to be clear, Conservatives believe that no process for peace negotiations should happen without Ukraine being part of these discussions. Ukrainians have the right to determine their own future. As we reflect on the incredible sacrifices that the Ukrainians have made in defense of their homeland, we are reminded that despite everything they have faced in the last 11 years, Ukraine has not perished, nor her glory, nor her freedom. Slava Ukraini. And that's from Pierre Polyev. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to ensure that Ukraine gets the financial support it needs. We will ensure that it has the weapons it needs to have this fight, that they can defend their homeland. I don't think that's working. That they need every tool possible, because there cannot be peace with weakness. We cannot allow another Yalta conference to take place where the great powers divide up the resources and wealth. We cannot let Ukraine be plundered by Putin and what we're seeing in these negotiations from the United States. We have to make sure that Ukraine is given every opportunity for victory, for prosperity, and for democracy to thrive, and that only happens with a proper negotiation with the Ukrainian government at the table, getting what's best for Ukraine, and Conservatives will stand with them every step of the way. Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Thank you.
Thank you very much. James Bazan, Member of Parliament for Selkirk Interlake. We have a number of honored guests in our audience today that came to support us, and I would like to acknowledge and thank them. We have Usoma Azagwara, the Minister of Health and Deputy Premier. Honorable Kevin Lamoureux, the Member of Parliament for Winnipeg North. Gustavo Zentner, VP, Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. Ben Carr, Member of Parliament for Winnipeg South Centre. Honorable Mike Moroz, MLA for River Heights. I know there are a number of supporters and politicians of local government in the audience. I apologize for not naming all of you. We truly thank you for being here. If I missed anybody, we really value your support. Next, we have a performance by famous locally, the Pachas Brothers Trio. Please welcome to the stage.
Hey, 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 hey. Зродились ми великої години, з позеж війни і полум'я вогнів плекав нас біль за долю України, зростив нас гнів і людства ворогів, плекав нас біль за долю України, зростив нас гнів і людства ворогів. Йдемо в бій переможним ходом, тверді, міцні, незламні, мов граніт, бо плач не дав нікому же свободи. Хто борець, той здобуває світ, бо плач не дав нікому же свободи. Хто борець, той здобуває світ. Гей-гей, 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 гей-гей. Велику суть для усіх єдину наш гордий клич народові несе. Вітчизні будьте вірні без упину, нам Україна вище понад це. Вітчизні будьте вірні без упину, нам Україна вище понад це. Веде нас бій героїв наших слава, для нас закон, найвищий то наказ. Соборна українська є держава, одна навік, від Сяну по Кавказ. Соборна українська є держава, одна навік, від Сяну по Кавказ. Гей-гей, гей-гей, слава Україні! Гей, пливе кача по Тисині, пливе кача по Тисині. Мамко ж моя, не лай мені, мамко ж моя, не лай мені. Гей, залаєш ми з годину, залаєш ми з годину. Сам не знаю, де погину, сам не знаю, де погину. Гей, погину я в чужім краю, погину я в чужім краю. Хто ж ми буде брати яму? Хто ж ми буде брати яму? Гей, вимеруть ми чужі люди, виберуть ми чужі люди. Ці жартима буде, ці не жалті. Мамко буде, гей, якби ж мені, синку, не жаль, якби ж мені, синку, не жаль. в серцю лежав, ти ж на моїм серцю лежав. Гей, пливе кача по тисині, пливе кача по тисині.
I would like to invite everyone to honor the victims of Russian war of aggression with a moment of silence. Давайте вшануємо пам'ять всіх полеглих хвилиною мовчання. Будь ласка. We were hoping to make this live, but we're going to have recorded greetings from the Canadian ambassador to Ukraine.
Третю річницю повномасштабного вторгнення. Я пам'ятаю шок, який я відчула, дивлячись новини, коли ми з недовір'ю стали свідками того, як росіяни в'їжджали в Україну. Ми всі боялися, що Україну захоплять за кілька днів, але цього не сталося. Українці боролися. Багато громад не могли дочекатися Збройних сил і взялися за зброю, побудували барикади, щоб захищати себе. I have been posted as the ambassador to Ukraine since 2023. My first visit within arriving just a few weeks was to Bucha. I met with the mayor and the priest and the brave members of the community. They recounted the horrors, the terrible crimes. I saw the photos. I prayed where they were buried. I also saw how strong they were. I heard how people who didn't know they had the courage or strength fought back. How clever they were in diverting the Russians. I saw how much they had rebuilt their community in that short time, replacing damaged sites with better and more beautiful community buildings and parks. I met with people who left and had returned. I have since traveled throughout Ukraine, as recently as last week to Kharkiv, Dnipro, where I met with local Ukrainian civil society and small businesses that take care of their communities. It is difficult to describe in words just how remarkable they are. Whether Odessa, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Chernivtsi or Chernihiv, the people are remarkable. Volunteers are represented at all ages. I tied camouflage nets with women in their 80s who volunteer every day doing this. I met with 20-year-old students who win grants for renovating community housing and support centers for internally displaced persons. I need to also acknowledge all the Canadians I meet here who come here to volunteer, not all with Ukrainian heritage. These are firefighters who come to train with Ukrainians on search and rescue techniques. These are medical teams from Canada who come on their vacation time to Ukraine and Poland to work on the toughest and most complex medical cases. These are only a few examples. There are so many. And I'm so very proud of Canada and Canadians and the support they keep giving to Ukraine. But we cannot stop. Ukraine is showing the world what innovation, entrepreneurship, volunteerism looks like. And we continue to be inspired by them. We need to continue to support their resilience and their bravery. They are fighting, after all, for all of us. Since being here, I have come to really understand and appreciate freedom and human rights. I will never take these for granted again. It is an honor to be asked to address this group today. I know that you understand me, because many of you also volunteer, also contribute, and also feel what I feel. I want to thank you for standing with Ukrainians and for advocating for them and for us all. Серед вас моя тета Орися. Вона розуміє, як і мій власний батько, її дворідний брат, вона покинула Україну, коли була лише дуже маленькою, щоб уникнути радянську окупацію. І її батьки стали свідками звірств тих років. Ми ніколи не уявляли, що це повториться. Давайте зупинимося і згадаємо всіх тих, хто вижив, і всіх героїв, і тих, що далі борються за нас всіх. Слава Україні! Героям слава!
Вітаю вас із Києва, з околиць Золотих Воріт, столиці незламної України. Вже 3 роки триває повномасштабна війна. 3 years of heroic resistance. 3 years of starting out with hardly any outside support. Years of gathering an international coalition to maintain and enhance Ukraine's ability to fight back, and now face new challenges. As you can see, neither the Golden Gate nor the golden domes of St. Sophia and its belfry have fallen. They stand. They stand as an inspiration to Ukrainians as they go about their lives, which are both ordinary, daily lives. Baking bread, teaching children, helping the sick, but also extraordinary lives of military valor, of technical innovation, of finding new ways of adapting to life in wartime, of governing themselves equitably, something in which, again, Canada, Canadians, all of those of you gathered in Winnipeg are supporting. So I encourage you to keep the faith and keep up your support for Ukraine's struggle, because, as the great poet said, "Борітеся, поборете, вам Бог помагає." Keep up the struggle, keep the faith. Чи падають духом українці? Ні. Чи зневірюються? Часом. Але відновляють свою переконаність у правоту своєї справи. It isn't easy to stand up against a big nuclear-armed neighbor for 3 years running. But Ukrainians have found the internal reserves to do it, supplemented by the help from outside that you and so many other Canadians have helped to provide. Now it's a matter of staying the course, even when others have wavered, even when others have turned against Ukrainians and their just struggle.
To present the keynote address and call to action. Будь ласка, професор Цап.
Дякую. Слава Україні! Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a warm thank you to each and every one of you for joining us today in this solemn occasion on the grounds of the Canada's Museum for Human Rights, which was created to promote respect for others and examine the universal issues of human rights. Today is our shared journey, for I am certain it will place on us emotional, physical, and even spiritual demands as our Ukraine finds itself again in a critical juncture in its history, facing profound challenges. We are here today to commemorate the 3rd year of an all-out, unprovoked, and cruel Russian invasion of a peaceful, democratic nation, Ukraine, and reaffirm our unwavering support for a free and sovereign Ukraine. honor the resistance and resilience of Ukraine and its people, and condemn the aggression and the human suffering it has caused. Russia is historically an aggressive empire, obsessed with conquest and domination. Since the invasion of Crimea in 2014, and again on February 24 of 2022, this barbaric war has heroically altered not just Ukraine, but the very fabric of international justice and the concept of sovereignty. We see death and destruction in Ukraine on a scale not seen in Europe since World War II. And Russia's intense hybrid warfare, destruction of undersea communication networks, disinformation campaigns, poisoning of peoples, arson attacks at unprecedented levels, threatening even European security. As a result of this unprovoked and devastating invasion, according to United Nations High Commission for Refugees, to date, as of February 2025, more than 7 million refugees have fled Ukraine. Over 4 million have been displaced internally, and over 13 million in Ukraine are in need of humanitarian assistance. According to Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship in Canada, more than 300,000 Ukrainians have found refuge in Canada. Manitoba opened its doors to over 25,000 families. Thousands of civilians and soldiers have been killed, maimed or wounded. Moscow's despotic and terrorist regime daily breaches the Charter of the United Nations, violates the human rights of the Ukrainian people and the Geneva Convention. The Budapest Memorandum of '94, the various Minsk Agreement, which began in 2014, is just another repeated indication demonstrating that Moscow won't live up to its commitments. The Kremlin wants full control of Ukrainian territories, one of the most fertile soils in the world, holding 10% of the world reserves in rare earth minerals. Putin is not even attempting to hide its genocidal colonialist goal, using grain, gas, oil, nuclear terror, destruction of civil infrastructures, water dams, including energy grids as a weapon, murdering, torturing, raping civilians, families left with nothing except facing daily terror. Bucha, Izium, Olenivka, Avdiivka. Willful attacks on educational institutions, healthcare infrastructure, children hospitals, mobile medical units, systematic kidnapping of children and murder of Ukrainian POWs. We see forced deportation of Ukrainian population, including women and children. Establishment of Russian filtration camps, another word for concentration camps. This is followed by complete Russification, passportization, destruction of Ukrainian identity, suppression of its language, pillaging of historical sites and treasures, cultures, monuments, libraries, places of worship, and religious institutions. Let's not forget the complete destruction of our cities, like Melitopol, Mariupol, Bakhmut, which have become symbols of resistance and unimaginable suffering. Russia's actions have triggered a global energy and food crisis, created economic and political instability in neighboring regions, and has eroded all international norms and security. The recent February 14 to 16 of this year Munich Security Conference held in Germany, which assembled more than 450 leaders from around the world, including head of states, is just another indication of the pressing international security challenges facing the world. specifically dealing with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now, we have a newly elected would-be dictator, global extortionist, and do not forget a convicted felon who has Putin as a role model. Rather than putting pressure on the aggressor who invaded Ukraine, he is selling out Ukraine to the Russians. On February 24, 2022, the world watched in shock as Russia, under the command of war criminal Vladimir Putin, initiated a full-scale invasion of Ukraine's democratically elected government, flying Russian and Soviet Empire flags. He was under the impression that he could easily overrun Ukraine in a few days. Take Kyiv, and on May 9th, hold a military parade in the capital of Ukraine. They had on hand ready-made ceremonial uniforms, which were found in rented garages in Irpin, and newly minted medals for overrunning major cities of Ukraine. By the way, these medals could be easily found online. Putin made a strategic blunder. The courage, heroism, and stand of Ukrainian armed forces who reshaped drone and naval warfare, territorial militia, International Military Legion of Defense, and the many volunteers contributing to the war effort astonished the world. When we refer to the Ukrainian International Military Legion of Defense, as was mentioned by the Premier of Manitoba, it also includes Manitobans. It's important for me to mention the name of Ivan Yushchenko, 51-year-old, who is a dear friend, and he sold his house, left to fight in Ukraine as far back as 2014. In the fall of 2023, was wounded by a shrapnel in the forehead, and for his bravery received the Gold Cross from General Zaluzhny. Another individual that we must never forget, be grateful to as Ukrainian Canadians, and keep his memory alive is Austin Latin Bercier, a 25-year-old. From the proud Opaskwarak Cree Nation from northern Manitoba, who laid his life in action in the vicinity of Avdiivka, Donetsk. He decided to stand up against evil, the unjust Russian aggression towards peaceful people of Ukraine. Our family was from Avdiivka and my mother's side, and we had to help evacuate them. A single Russian missile changed everyone's life in one day. Our family lost everything they worked for in their life. I visited Avdiivka back in 2005. This once thriving, hard-working little town, due to Russia's scorched earth policy, is now a ghost town in rubbles and under Russian occupation. I'm sure that many of you here at this summer event could share similar stories. Our armed forces today stand as a shield for Europe and are facing not just Russian forces, but thousands of North Korean troops, including Iranian drones and Chinese support. This continues in the third year of the war, when Ukrainian forces reclaimed large parts of Kharkiv, Kherson, and even moved into Kursk. Amidst this darkness, the spirit of Ukraine shines brighter than ever. Russian aggression has created humanitarian, social, and economic crisis in Ukraine. Signs of emotional PTSD and physical wartime trauma will affect Ukrainian citizens for generations. It will further leave lasting wounds on displaced women, children, and Ukrainian military personnel. Cette année marque le 3e anniversaire de l'invasion de l'Ukraine par la Russie. Cette invasion a créé une catastrophe humanitaire, déclenchant la plus grande vague de réfugiés en Europe depuis la Seconde Guerre mondiale. devant les atrocités répréhensibles et les crimes contre l'humanité commis tous les jours par la Russie, les alliés de l'Ukraine, ont le devoir d'apporter une réponse bien plus forte que celle que nous avons pu voir jusqu'ici. No one could even imagine that the words written by prominent Ukrainian poet Ivan Franko 135 years ago would still be relevant today during this Russian full-scale war in Ukraine. Listen to his prophetic words in Ukrainian. Багно гнилеє на сході Європи, покрите цвіллю, зелені густою, розсадниця недумства і застою, Росія, де лиш ти поставиш стопи, повзе облуда, здирство, плач народу, цвіте бездушність, наче плісень з муру. Ти тиснеш і кричиш, даю свободу, дереш шкуру і мовиш, двигаю культуру, лись росте і міцніє в тобі. Свобідний дух або втікати мусить, або живцем вмирає в твоїм гробі. Russia needs to be held accountable on a world stage for their horrendous war crimes, genocide being committed in Ukraine. They must not only pay reparations from the 300 billion in frozen assets, but be brought to justice before the International Criminal Court in The Hague. After 3 years of Russian isolation and sanctions, we are witnessing from Trump's administration a complete reversal, a seismic shift from this isolation. U.S. policy now is adversary. In the middle of a war, they decided to change sides against their allies and the victim, Ukraine. As we commemorate the 3rd anniversary of this Russian aggression, another shocking development just took place. The US is pressuring Kyiv to remove all pro-Ukrainian language from its draft UN resolution, which is to be voted on by the General Assembly tomorrow. And I'm sure Zelensky will not agree to that in any way. Trump doesn't treat Ukrainians as humans, but a colonial resource to exploit, and he's abandoning the free world. He's accommodating the wishes of Russian President Putin. We are seeing a first-hand betrayal of Ukraine, which was not even invited to be part of the negotiation table. No word for reparations or about reparations, damages, crimes committed by Russia, the murdering, the rapes, the plunder of the Ukrainian land. We are witnessing pure moral bankruptcy, not just peace negotiations. Friends, democracy should not be taken for granted. We need to continuously defend our democratic values and understand the importance of standing up against authoritarianism and imperialism. We must also reaffirm our commitment to the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity. This conflict has also revealed the fragility of our global institutions bent to prevent such aggression. This is not just Ukraine's fight. It's a fight for the values we hold dear: freedom, justice, and the right of every nation to determine its own future. Ukraine's unyielding pursuit of freedom and sovereignty in these challenging times requires unwavering national unity in the face of Russian aggression. When I was preparing this short speech over here at the museum, I got a letter from Kyiv. And as I was working on this presentation, it was a moving letter. And it was from a journalist, Helena Ustenko-Haidai, which I couldn't just ignore. And I must just share it with you. Open quotation. We have not lived like people in the whole world for 3 years now, and not everyone survives. Fathers, sons, grandsons are defending the borders. Women, children, mothers are in daily worry for the frontline care of their loved ones, the defenders. This is not a war, but treacherous and hateful murders and destruction. Like fierce ravens, the Russian horde relentlessly advances not only deep into the territory of our state, but also onto the sacred family thresholds of Ukrainians, mercilessly destroying everything to the ground. Everyone, from child to adult. Every day defenders die on the battlefield, while with peaceful people on silent nights, the Russians continuously deal with drones, missiles, and shotguns. The killers have a beastly appetite, never satiated by our blood. All our mornings begin with air raid sirens and the wailings of alarms, and continue through the days and nights. Nervous human streams are held back by unquenchable love for freedom, pride in the motherland, faith in justice, gratitude for our defenders and the global brothers and sisters, among whom the word Canada warms the heart of every Ukrainian. Though wounded, but not surrendered, such a great distance between Canada and Ukraine, yet your closeness to us, brotherly solidarity is felt up close. Each of us treasure your profound, immediate, unquestionable help. We are in the same ranks, shoulder to shoulder, feeling the rhythm of Canadian hearts beating in one pulse with ours. Between our governments and peoples, there is undeniable trust. We thank you for the parental shelter, the open border for our suffering mothers and children. Thank you for the greatness of guaranteed, relentless political, military, and material support. We are unconquered. We dream of righteous and victorious peace because we deny every loss of our and your sons. For us, the name of Canadians, without any doubt, joined the ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine are sacred. Many of them are forever written in history as the heroic sons of both your and our motherland. The cost of the long-awaited peace is the highest. Life is priceless. It is unacceptable to cater to the criminal territorial appetites and militant ambition of the Russian invasion. Ukrainians are fighting. The people are showing the world an example of courage and patience, not giving up the right to independence, freedom, and dissent, and a decent civilized life. Glory to Ukraine. Close quotation. In closing, as we mark this solemn milestone of the invasion of Ukraine, it is imperative that we reaffirm commitment to supporting Ukraine and recognize Ukraine's resilience as a symbol of hope. We must further pause to remember the profound human suffering, resilience, and sacrifice that have defined this strategy. Reflecting on this moment is not only an act of honoring those affected, but also a crucial step in understanding the far-reaching consequences of conflict, the fragility of peace, and the collective responsibility we bear to uphold justice and humanity. Let this remembrance serve as a call to action, to learn, to advocate, and to ensure that such devastation is never repeated. May it renew our hope that in the face of such darkness, humanity's resilience and determination will prevail. Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Thank you.
I would like to invite the amazing Patras brothers to the stage again for another song called Voля, which means freedom in Ukrainian.
Вітер у полі гуляє, вітер мене обійма. Все, що я маю, це небо без краю, і кращої долі нема. Все, що я маю, це небо без краю, і кращої долі нема. Вранці прокинувся в полі, сонце побачив я всі. Дякую Богу і дякую долі, знову збираю спокій. Дякую Богу і дякую долі, знову збираю спокій. Доля, не доля, не боротьба, краще й воля нічого нема. Краще у полі піти в небуття, чим у неволі прожити життя. Доля, не доля, журба, не журба, краще, ніж воля, нічого нема. Краще у полі піти в небуття, чим у неволі прожити життя. Так вам за обрій полину, крила розправив я же. Вірю, що Бог береже Україну і правду Господь береже. Вірю, що Бог береже Україну і правду Господь береже. Доля, не доля, журба, не журба, краще, ніж воля, нічого нема. Краще у полі піти в небуття, чим у неволі прожити життя. Доля, не доля, журба, не журба, краще, ніж воля, нічого нема. Краще у полі піти в небуття, чим у неволі прожити життя. Слава Україні! Слава Україні! Слава Україні!
Дякую, брати Пачес. Thank you, Pachas brothers, and their mother, Miroslava Pachas, who is accompanying them on the stage. It is my pleasure to invite to the stage a good friend, Oleg Degtяров, who will be here to present his project, Iron Hearts for Ukraine.
Good afternoon. Доброго дня. І ще раз слава Україні! Слава Україні! Good afternoon, honorable guests and the wonderful people of Winnipeg. My name is Oleg. I'm a proud Ukrainian, a passionate athlete, and a firm believer that a small action can lead to a massive impact. Today I'm here to present a sport initiative called Iron Hearts for Ukraine that my team and myself have been working tirelessly on for the last several years. There's a small presentation on the side that you can look at if you can see it. And what is Iron Hearts for Ukraine? It's a movement that empowers athletes to train for their sport goals while simultaneously raising much needed funds for Ukraine. Our mission is to raise 100,000 Canadian dollars by the end of 2025. What started as one person's goal, desire, while training for a full distance Ironman triathlon, also raised money for Ukraine. It led into something much bigger and became bigger and bigger and bigger. We want to unite amateur athletes around Canada by giving them the opportunity to support Ukraine while pushing their own limits. This initiative is about more than just fundraising. It's about bringing people together, supporting one another, and proving once again that dedication and perseverance, both in sports and in life, can make a real difference. We'll be officially launching our project by mid-March. So please follow us on our social media, on our website, and stay tuned for more updates and the news, as we would like to share as much information as we can. And before I leave the stage, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Ms. Lewandowski and UCC Manitoba for giving me the opportunity to present this project here in front of you today, and to all of you for being here today, to our honorable guests being here today, and thank you all. Slava Ukraini!
For thanks and concluding remarks, I would like to invite the President of Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Manitoba Provincial Council, Joe Lewandowski.
Слава Ісусу Христу! Вітаю вас, дорогі учасники, які так численно зійшлися, щоб відзначати третю річницю ганебної і нелегальної рашистської війни в Україні. Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Manitoba Provincial Council, has organized today's event to once again raise awareness and, in no uncertain terms, to condemn the Russian invasion and the ongoing devastating war in Ukraine. Russia's declaration of war on February 24th, 2022 was a clear violation of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and violates Russia's obligations under international law and the Charter of the United Nations. This unprovoked attack by Putin and his terrorist regime is not only a threat to Ukraine and its people, but a menace to freedom, fundamental human rights, and democracy around the world. For 3 long years now, Ukraine has valiantly resisted Russian aggression, and freedom-loving nations and individuals around the world who have stood in solidarity with Ukraine and supported her morally, financially, and defensively. Yet today, it appears that the Trump administration is prepared to negotiate unilaterally with acknowledged war criminal Putin and to force Ukraine to capitulate by ceding its sovereign territory to the invader and plunderer. This must not be allowed to happen. Ukraine needs far more weapons and economic support than we have provided to win the war. There are over 300 billion in Russian state, sovereign, and central bank assets in the West, mostly in the European Union. Canada and our allies need to make these assets available to Ukraine as soon as possible. Our community calls upon the Canadian government to, number 1, provide more military and economic aid to Ukraine. Be tougher on Russia. Throw out Russian diplomats. Declare Russia a terrorist state. Strengthen sanctions on Russia. Confiscate Russian assets and take action against Russian interference. We, as Canadians, will continue to assist Ukrainians who are displaced in Canada. The war is not over. We call upon all Ukrainians, all freedom-loving people, and nations of the free world once again to rally to Ukraine's cause, to write to your elected officials, media, and call upon them to continue to stand with Ukraine. Take this opportunity to gratefully acknowledge and welcome our elected officials who have joined us here at the podium. Minister Duguid, Premier Canoe, Deputy Mayor Chambers, MP Bazan, and all the rest of the elected officials who may have not announced themselves that are here, but we're gracious that you are with us. Thank you to our community organizers, speakers, performers, and all our Ukrainian newcomers who have volunteered to act as security today. We have over 30 newcomers who have been security. The video that was done by two gentlemen who have been here, IT specialists, and did this. We have integrated these people into our community. It is a pleasure working with them. A huge thank you also to the administration of the Canadian Museum for Human Rights for once again allowing us to use this most appropriate venue to hold today's event. For your information, I just want to share this. Over several hundred people could not join us because we were at capacity very quickly. So I'm delighted to say thank you to all of you. You are truly standing for Ukraine. And finally, I would just like to say, щиро дякую, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and continue standing for Ukraine. Slava Ukraini! Glory to Ukraine! Glory to Ukraine! My sincerest thanks.
Thank you very much, Joanne. Our program is coming to the end. I would like to make a quick announcement. There will be a walk for those that haven't been able to enter the museum. I hope they will join us. There will be a short walk from the Museum of Human Rights to the Legislative Building. We want people to see us publicly, that we're all here to support Ukraine. I know we have a lot of supporters among Manitobans, so we'll be walking from the museum to the Legislative Building. Please join us. It will be in about 10 minutes. We'll meet outside of the museum. Світова українська діаспора – це 25 мільйонів українців. Наше слово, наша праця, наш голос, наші донати дуже важливі. Єднаємося, українці! Це наш шанс зберегти Україну. You don't have to be Ukrainian to support Ukraine. You just have to be human and to want to live in a free, democratic, and peaceful world. It is critical that Canada and other European allies dedicate far more resources to our collective defense and to supplying Ukraine with necessary armaments and ammunition. At this critical time, we need to continue to stand with Ukraine. Слава Україні!